If you look at your Fenty Beauty and L'Oreal, you can just click a picture of your face and tuck, and in 3 steps you have the best foundation match, because skin tone is not necessarily one color and the other. It's a nuance, right? It's a spectrum. Google has actually expanded their skin tone algorithms and models from just like 5 shades to actually 10, and within the 10 each of that is actually a range, and it's not one color. So LLM models and your AI models are now going to be able to understand and detect the nuances of different skin tones, and Fenty being able to utilize that, at least from the perspective of getting the skin tone, is super exciting, and that was very interesting.
Welcome to the E-commerce Marketing Podcast, the highly rated digital marketing podcast that provides weekly digital marketing tips and strategies from some of the world's top digital marketers and e-commerce entrepreneurs that will help you take your digital marketing to the next level. Sit back and enjoy this power-packed episode hosted by Arlen Robinson, who is an e-commerce entrepreneur and digital marketing expert with over 20 years of experience. Hey, E-commerce Marketing Podcast listener! Are you looking to increase traffic and sales to your website? You can do this by launching your own affiliate program. Just visit getosi.com and sign up for a free trial today. That's getosi.com. Now get ready to hear from your e-commerce marketing expert of the week as they drill down to give you details on marketing strategies that can help grow your business.
Welcome back to the E-commerce Marketing Podcast, everyone. My name is Arlen, and I am your host. And today we've got a very special guest, Kausambi Manjita, who is the Chief Product Officer at Mason. With over a decade of experience in product management, Kausambi is a visionary leader known for driving growth and creating user-centric products. So join us today as we explore her insights and journey in product innovation, specifically AI technologies and how they can benefit e-commerce businesses within the e-commerce retail space. So welcome to the podcast, Kausambi.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be part of this podcast. I mean, it's one of the longest running in commerce, for commerce, and made by commerce experts. So,
Thank you for that.
So super
Yes,
excited. Yeah.
Yes, I am super excited to talk to you, and thank you for that. It has definitely been a long journey. We are definitely one of the, you're right. I guess you're right. We are one of the longest running, specifically e-commerce marketing podcasts that are around, and we're steadily going strong. So every episode is always enlightening for me, and definitely excited to talk to you and see what you have to offer the discussion. But before we do get into all of that, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your background and specifically how you've got into what you're doing today.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's when you hindsight 60, right? Like you look back and everything connects. But I think it all started with this like super keen interest in science fiction when I was really young. And used to I think I was back in school when my dad got The Bicentennial Man back home one fine day by Isaac Asimov. And this was way before the movie. And I read it, got really, really hooked, and then went down the rabbit hole of probably reading everything that Asimov had to offer beyond The Hitchhikers, the Dune series, and so on, right? Everything. Wow. And it was so exciting to think about, really cutting edge, bleeding edge things that really change and connect so closely with people and change the way we interact with our environment, that changes the way we, operate, and help us do so much more than what we could as just a single individual. Like, in science fiction, it's all about galactic empires, but yeah, I think somewhere that was very exciting to be in that, very interesting corner, where there's science and there's people. And there's technology and there's people. And then as life went by, and landed up my first in engineering, did my engineering Post that landed up in IBM Commerce as one of my first gigs. And I was in Atlanta for a while, also in Bangalore, bunch of interesting supply chain and e-commerce and retail visibility products and solutions that the IBM suite have. My first foray, I would say, into retail and consumer tech. But being a part of retail and consumer, it was all about people and consumers, which are people. How do you use or leverage technology to just make that whole process so much more seamless and human? And I think that's just continued working in that space over the years, and I can't think of a better decision.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. And yeah, that's interesting that you mentioned your passion early on as a child with those science fiction series novels. And you're correct. I think a lot of those novels that you mentioned, the Dune series and the Isaac Asimov's series, a lot of it it's more than just straight science fiction and kind of out of this world fantasies. Of course, a lot of that is part of it, but they deal with a lot of the intersection between this advancing culture, this technology, and humans, and how we interact amongst each other with these changing times. And so that's interesting. I think that's kind of where we are now in this world right now. I mean, we're not quite at the Dune level, I don't think.
Not yet, but
yeah, not yet.
Cusp,
exactly.
At the cusp.
Right. Exactly. We're kind of at the cusp. So yeah, very, very interesting that you have that passion, and this kind of where we are today.
Yeah.
And so that really is going to set the stage for our discussion, which is really going to be the future of AI in retail and e-commerce. And for the business owners that are listening today, that are e-commerce businesses, that may even have a retail establishment or a mix of both. First off, I think I'd like you to kind of dive into, if you could share what you see your vision of how AI will transform retail and e-commerce, the whole retail and e-commerce landscape over the next 5-year period.
Yeah. And you know what, that's such a, when you think about it, it's such an important thing to, I think, dwell on, because the question is like, what is it? What's the impact? And I'm sure that over the last year, I've seen it with, our customers or, the industry overall. The biggest question on everybody's mind, no matter which industry you are in, is how is it going to impact me? Like, what's happening? How are things going to change and evolve 5 years down? Right now, I'm probably using ChatGPT for like emailing or writing like documents. But is this it? Like, it doesn't, like, something big is going to happen. And when you zoom out, I think specifically, and we're going to stick to retail, but a lot of it probably applies to other industries too. I think it goes back to how technology always, the big shifts are always about how, making us more powerful in some way. There are some short-term and medium-term impact, which probably makes it difficult for certain segments of people or certain segments of society to kind of chart that, big change and big shift. But in the end, it's about any change, big change in technology. Think about printing press or pens. It was all about making things so much simpler and powerful. And, you can literacy or education, all of that wouldn't have been possible if those shifts didn't happen. And I'm sure at that point in time too, it was like, hey, that's crazy. Like, do we really need this? Right. So right. When you think about AI, a lot of it is, we hear, hey, jobs are going to go out and people are laying off and all of that. But to be honest, when you, dig down, it's actually the number one thing that it changes is how it makes individuals or groups of individuals, let's say a company or a retailer, more powerful, right? And being able to do so much more with less, right? And that's a very, very important theme, right? Like how, when you think about it, it's with the advent of, and you've been there last, almost a quarter of a century, and you've seen the shift from, that world of Amazon which is like black box and nobody knows how to sell. They just like upload stuff and they wait, like Amazon does the rest, right? To the shift towards, the second generation of commerce with the Shopify's of the world, which was a lot about democratizing the ability for people to just come online and start selling stuff, right? To create brands and create retail houses if possible, right? And it was all about empowering. And this third shift, which is almost like AI-led commerce, will be a lot about, one, doing a lot more with less, but two, also on the consumer side, making it so much more personal, because now the team on the other side, the brand on the other side, can do things for us as a consumer that they probably wouldn't have been able to do before. So I'll go with a couple of examples. The first thing that we're talking about is, how we can help retail teams or e-commerce teams of 3 or 4 or 5 actually make big impact in their operating models, in their margins, in the amount of personalization they can do for their customers, all of that, without having to have like an army of data analysts or army of data scientists or army of partners to actually operate, right, or take decisions. So it's about bringing a lot of the decisioning and the actions, all like squeezing it down and making it simple and giving you that magic wand to do it, right? So that's the first example. And the second impact, which is about how the consumer experience changes, it's about now, you can't design stores for every customer who lands on your URL, right? But with AI, generative and predictive, both coming together, you can actually understand customers or consumers' needs and intent and desires and whatever else that they are giving you signals, and be able to act on it using generative AI immediately, right? And that actually means that, hey, like I get things that I need much faster. And so I form a connection with my brands or the brands that I like or the products that I care about much more and better, right? So I think when you look at the immediate, like half a decade to a decade, the two biggest impact will most likely be, one, in how you can, as a team or as a unit of one, get that magic wand to do so much more and to become so much more sustainable as a company with less, right? And two, for the consumer, it's about the brand being able to connect and react to my demands and my needs and my desires so much faster.
Yes, yeah, very, very well said. And thank you for citing those examples. I think with AI, not only are we going to be able to, in e-commerce and the retail space, not only are customers, like you said, even yourself and anyone that's experienced an e-commerce site that has some type of AI function, we've experienced things a lot better of a user experience, whether it's items tailored for us that we mainly see, emails that are a lot more personalized that we get, rather than just a blind bulk email coming from these brands. All of those things are changing and have changed and a lot of these brands are already on top of those things. But I think one of the things that I think that also is going to be benefiting some of the smaller e-commerce brands is, with this technology, it's somewhat in a way leveling the playing field a little bit, because it's giving smaller brands access to so much more information and the ability to analyze that a lot quicker, like you said, without having a huge marketing team. So even a shop that's just a founder, maybe a co-founder, and they've got a couple employees that are doing, fulfilling products and things like that, they can understand, their market segment a lot easier by just a few prompts in, using Chat GPT. And they can maybe understand if they're going to make a shift and offer different products or different services, decide just by prompting and analyzing data, figuring out what direction they could go without having a marketing agency or a team behind them where, they're spending a lot of marketing hours and dollars on to be able to do these things. So I think that's another big thing that's really exciting, because I'm always kind of looking at what the effect of all of this is going to have on some of the smaller businesses.
Yeah.
Now, how do you think these AI advancements in e-commerce specifically are going to compare to those in traditional retail environments? Because there's two different models. Of course, people go into brick and mortar stores and locations, and of course, people buying online. And so, are there any specific areas where you think one sector is going to outpace the other?
Yeah, I think it's definitely starting already when you think about it in anything online. It's definitely, a sector where the impact is very observable from day one, right? You are giving the example of a small business, right? Of a business of like two people or three people or even a solopreneur. And, of course, there's the part of, today using a chat GPT or a similar app or a product, but and it's happening already, and over the next few years what you'll see is almost like how we used to rely on and we still do on people who are experts in the domain, right? But even when experts give us advice and they need us to do something, to take some action or to analyze some data to be able to make an action, I'm sure you do that with your clients. You give them so much insights and so much valuable information. But then for that solopreneur or that small team to actually act on it is almost like, okay, we still have to operate, right? So that's also a shift that they're going to see, right? Which is that it's almost like you're hiring a operator. So it's like the AI agents that everybody's talking about, right? Maybe we still are a little away from true agents, but what you'll see is, you'll start thinking of AI solutions not as tools that you're buying, but almost as, your extended team that you are hiring, right? And that's the power, right? That's the shift, right? And so online, of course, it's going to be super easy impact from day one, because it's about everything in marketing, everything in communication is already, we're seeing in communication already, but marketing too, and overall. And then it's starting to get into the space of, hey, I don't need to create like, just one version of a website, but some parts of the website can be fluid and can be influenced by AI decisions or AI agents, right? Like as you mentioned, recommendations or product bundles and things like that can be stitched together on the fly. For apparel industry, it could be, let's say, a lookbook that can just be created on the fly. Or for a beauty and personal care, it could be a regime that works for my skin type and my needs and actually can be stitched together. So you don't, as a solopreneur, you don't have to plan for all of these things. And you see that help that AI can give you to do a lot of these, not just take these decisions, but also act on these decisions so much faster. And you're already seeing that. Now with retail, what happens is that the first most important thing about any kind of decisions is, what data do I take the decisions on? And online, there's a bunch of data. And so it's definitely the step one where AI can have really fast impact. But when you think about retail brick and mortar, and it's not very easy to collect data. First of all, you have to be even more cautious about, or I think careful, and how do you meaningfully collect data? Because you can't be like putting a camera on every person who enters your store, right?
For sure.
Yeah, for sure, right? Or you're on a website and there might be a quiz and you will respond to it, and you still get the brand on the other side starts understanding you. But if you walk into a brick and mortar and a sales guy is just shoving a questionnaire on your face, you will not really interact with it, right? So there's that little bit of a gap of, how do I get the right data, first of all, for AI to even help me take a decision or act on that. But some of the things that we're starting to see and might be is actually not helping, probably not really directly making a big shift in the consumer experience, unlike online, where you can change the consumer experience with AI now. I think in retail, in offline, it will be a lot about augmenting the sales teams on the ground with take better decisions. Like, for example, if someone's just very interested in a pair of, I don't know, sambas, and they're coming to, your checkout counter, and when you type in their number and you see that, hey, they typically, always buy some pair of socks with the new shoes, and they haven't bought in a while, then AI nudges the salesperson over there to actually give probably a very specific, personalized discount to that user,
Mhm.
to sort of get them to repeat more, right? And
Right,
and
right.
and so it's actually augmenting the salesperson. So I think that's where some of the impact in offline will start happening, where you are probably helping people who are in the store to take better, or in your warehouse, or who's delivering, all of the people, the workforce that actually powering your offline retail, to take better decisions and to drive better experience. But it's not necessarily going to be in the same way that we think of online retail. and
Mhm.
and and of course, like, the data is not as easy to collect without really explicit consent. So yeah, so there's going to be that little bit of a gap and a lag over there.
Yes. Yeah, I totally agree. It's a little different in
Yeah.
the retail space
Hmm.
because it's like you said, the gathering of data is the difficult thing. With e-commerce,
Yeah.
it's a lot easier
Yeah.
to track users. You may have their email address. They may
Yeah.
have been visited your site before. They've looked at certain products. You can customize the experience
Exactly.
really quickly, so it's
Yeah.
a lot easier. And I understand what you're saying with
Yeah.
the retail space. You can't have these salespeople sticking a survey in
No.
someone's hand
No.
immediately. It
No.
just doesn't work. So right now, it seems like a lot of the engagement with the AI and where it can assist is just either at the point of sale or post purchase. Maybe after.
Yeah.
A lot of these brands, of course, have these rewards types
Yeah.
programs where they're collecting information as in exchange for an incentive, which could be discounts
Yeah.
towards future purchases
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
type of thing. And so
Yeah.
then you kind of get them into your ecosystem, and then
Yeah.
maybe you can offer them things in your e-commerce site after that in-store purchase, or offer them specials,
Yeah. Yeah.
at
Yeah.
the in-store. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think we're a little bit early with the retail. You mentioned earlier about the agents. We're not really there with it. I mean, it's probably not that far away, but I think the biggest advancement with retail will be um, maybe not initially a replacement of in-store salespeople, but maybe in addition to in-store salespeople, some type of AI powered robot, if you will, that's assisting customers, asking questions. I mean, yeah, asking questions, directing people to certain areas of the store, and giving them, real time
Oh,
suggestions. And
yeah.
so, I mean, we're not there, but I think that the technology is
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
there. It's
Yeah.
just not been rolled out yet. So I think
And I
that's what.
love what you just mentioned about, like, pointing people to the right aisle. When I walk into a
Right.
Uniqlo or or a Zara or an H&M, it's like, you don't know where's what. Yeah,
Yes,
and
exactly.
it's so difficult, especially Uniqlo's, and it's like huge, right? And
Mhm.
endless aisles, which are and endless product catalogs, which are essentially why not be able to just scan and browse and probably walk the map to where what you're looking for, right? So things
Mhm.
like that definitely will be very interesting changes and shifts that you will definitely start seeing in retail. But yeah,
Yes.
I think it's always see, AI is not necessarily about replacing people, and we spoke about that, I think,
Mhm.
both of us at the very beginning. It's a lot
Mhm.
about augmenting teams and augmenting people. So I think
Yes.
online you don't need that many people to monitor your site and do stuff. So it definitely starts showing impact from day one. Offline, I mean, we walk into a store because we want that personal touch, right? So we want that personal
Exactly.
experience. So taking the
Right.
people away from the equation is not going to help. But can you help
Yes.
the people be more personal with us? I guess that's where
Right.
the impact will be. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
You're right. That's where I see as well. It's an
yeah,
augmentation of it because people go in store because they want to,
yeah,
deal with someone in the flesh.
yeah,
They want to talk to
absolutely.
someone. They want us to get a suggestion about, okay, what would look good for me and
Yeah,
what is the best product for me.
yeah,
So I totally agree. Now, I always like to, kind of break things down for small e-commerce businesses that may be wondering how you navigate these waters as far as AI is concerned. So let's say, imagine a small e-commerce startup. They want to integrate AI into their operations. What would you say would be the first 3 steps that you recommend that they would take?
Yeah, I think that's it's a very important question for any small or medium business to actually ask themselves, right? And step one is actually zooming out and looking at your funnel and seeing where is it that your funnel's the weakest today, and going in with a very use case first perspective, right? See, a large retailer will think about digital transformation and AI transformation, and they have a chief innovation officer and all of that shebang. And the way they will think of AI is we are adopting and implementing AI across our entire supply chain, right? From demand to supply to logistics, right? And as you said, from online to offline, like they're gonna have that big picture in mind from day one, and then where is the fastest ROI, where can I enter, and all of that. But for a small company, I think the most important thing is that where can I get results today, right? The promise of many AI solutions that walk up to you and ask you to try them out will be probably a lot more in the future than you can afford to even think of as a small business. So that's why the step one of, hey, look at your funnel, look at your business metrics, look at, what is it that is very important for you, which is, do I need to increase my margins so that I can scale my, performance marketing, right? Do I need to, people are bouncing off. Is that the problem? Like, are people even converting? Is there a lot of, cart completion rates really bad? Like, what is it? Where is your number one problem today? And then looking at solutions that will help you, actually fix that with something which, AI, the layer that AI adds is essentially more personalization and better customer experience. So you always have that lens, but step one is where, right? So I think that's the first thing. The second thing over there then is when you are evaluating now solutions, right? So that's where I think you'll have to now, you need this short-term impact, but you have to kind of ask the right questions to understand whether this partner can give you longer-term impact too. So, or are they just like that one, like that, Kool-Aid for that single problem? Because you're straddled with the same problem that you have today otherwise, which is, you have tons of, if you're on Shopify, you probably have installed tons of apps. If you're on BigCommerce, you have tons of apps, right? So you don't want to fall into that trap again, because nobody wants that. Like, you just have a ton of apps and you don't know what to do with them, right? And they don't talk to each other. Right. Customers not getting the right experience, end of the day, period, right? So I think the second step two hence becomes, can I understand whether this team that's on the other side, they are helping me solve this tactical problem for today, but can they also, zoom out, and is their solution or is their roadmap, they don't need to have everything, but are they going to be able to scale with me, right? I think that becomes very important, because you can't drive very differentiated experience on your cart or your, returning user flow, or all of any of these, and then have everything else just fall apart over time, right? So you'll need to continue now driving better experience across everything, right? So can this team help you do that, or will you have to kind of like, hey, it's a one hit wonder, and then I'll have to sort of look for other solutions as I solve this and move to others. So I think I don't have 3 steps. I think these 2 steps themselves, which is one, do you know, or can you evaluate very, very critically, where will you get the biggest impact today if you adopt a new solution, right? Which is the part of your funnel, or which is a business metric that needs immediate attention. So be a bit more use case first, and then when you're evaluating a vendor, then look at whether they're a one-hit wonder, or they're going to be able to scale and help you, solve problems across your entire, business over time.
Yes. Yeah. Very, very well said. And I totally agree, especially for the startup. I think what you said earlier about figuring out what their main issues are and then seeing, okay, what's going to be the best way to resolve it? Is
Yeah.
it the customer funnel? Is it the way we're acquiring new customers?
Yeah.
Is it customer support? Is it product fulfillment? What is it? Where are the holes? And
Yeah.
then see,
Yeah.
can AI be a solution
Yeah.
to plugging some of these holes, and then going from there. And then, you know, as a brand, especially a startup brand, not just adopting any of these AI tools just for the sake of it, just because it's a buzzword.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
you know, because a lot of brands are doing that
Yeah.
because, you know, it's the latest thing, the latest trend, so to speak. But you know, really seeing, does it make sense for
Yeah.
your business? So I
Yeah.
think that's really what a brand
Yeah.
wants
Yeah.
to look at.
Yeah.
Well, Kausambi, as we get ready to wrap things up, I wanted to see if you could point out what you would say is the most interesting AI innovation
Mm.
and implementation that you've seen in the e-commerce space, either with a brand that you've dealt with directly or that you're just familiar with in general, that you think is pretty exciting. If you
Yeah.
can speak to something that you can think of.
Oh yeah, for sure. There, a lot of interesting things that you keep hearing in the market, and of course, as being a part of that industry, we of course have worked with so many different customers.
Sure.
And how do you drive different business metrics with or without AI? But how do you drive business metrics is the most important thing. And
Yes.
if you look at, I'm a big BPC beauty and personal care consumer myself. I mean, you might have noticed Fenty Beauty and L'Oreal and other teams too, but they have this really cool, implementation of a skin tone finder that is not
Okay.
your traditional skin tone finder. You literally on your browser, on your phone, you don't even need the app. You can just click click a picture of your face and tuck tuck, and in 3 steps you have the best
Mhm.
foundation match, because skin tone is not necessarily one color and the other. It's a nuance,
Right.
right? It's a
Right.
spectrum.
Hmm.
Google has over actually the last two quarters released expanded their skin tone algorithms and models from just like 5 shades to actually 10, and within the 10 each of
Okay.
that is actually a range, and it's not one color. So it's a very,
Hmm.
very interesting. So what I'm saying is essentially LLM models and your AI models are now going to be able to understand and detect the nuances of different skin tones, and
Wow.
Fenty being able to utilize that, at least from the perspective of getting the skin tone, is super exciting, and that was very interesting.
Mm.
Another, I don't remember the brand, but it's a Korean brand where they take it one step further. And when you're in Korea, and I want to be in South Korea and check that out, I'll keep you posted. But essentially,
Okay. Sure.
it does exactly what Fenty does, but it goes a step ahead, and there's a robot there who actually mixes up pigments on the fly and gives
Oh
you
wow.
the foundation of your.
Okay.
I mean, it's incredible, right? So that
Hmm.
I've seen videos of it. I've seen, examples of it across
Hmm.
different case studies, and was very, very interesting to see that. And so I think in
Yes.
these are two teams that we haven't worked with, but which were very interesting.
Hmm.
Things that I noticed that teams globally, brands globally, are now trying to work towards, which is again goes back to the 2 prongs of personalization and better customer experience, I guess, right?
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
for us, I think one of the interesting things that has come up, and it's a very customer driven and our customer roadmap driven product initiative, was how do we make cart abandonment and cart completion rates are two big questions for any small, medium, or large brand. Honestly, doesn't matter,
Yes.
but it's across the spectrum. 70% of carts are just left there, right? And we have so many solutions everywhere, but that 70% is almost like an industry standard, and people are like, oh, I have
Hmm.
70% drop off. I'm in the normal zone. That's the average zone.
Right.
And one of the things that, with a couple of our customers we started working towards is how do you really, you might have seen the small, games and tiered discounts on carts, right? Which are very,
Hmm.
if you buy $10 more, you'll get a freebie or something like that, right? So it's very
Yes, I've
gamified.
seen that.
But can we personalize that gamification based on what you like versus what I like? So I might
Hmm.
actually love samplers and freebies, but you might actually want, hey, I just give me free shipping. That makes more sense for me, right?
Hmm.
So personalizing that cart incentives and cart challenges on the fly, by looking at not just a customer's past data, but also similarity of that customer to other customers who have bought similar products and who behaved in similar ways, and being able to give them a very personalized cart challenge. We've seen really
Hmm.
big impact on cart completion rates, and it's a very very specific and technical use case that I'm talking about, but very very relevant for any brand, which is just by the simple act of personalizing, by understanding a consumer and personalizing that
Hmm.
challenge and that offer that you share with them, you're able to
Hmm.
see 20, 30, 40% better card completion rates, right, based on
Yes.
your business, of course. So yeah, so these
Yeah.
are three things that
Okay.
I wanted to share.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Those are some really exciting things, like you said, in the beauty skincare space. The skin tone thing is really cool.
Mm.
I've seen different things like that online and in
Mm-hmm.
Twitter, where
Yep.
they're kind of directing people to get the apps and it can match your skin tones. Where
Yeah.
it really does seem like it's a real asset to these brands, because it not only, number one, not only is it giving them the data
Mm.
on the different types of skin tones that exist that they may not necessarily
Yeah.
be creating products for. So they can figure out, okay, we've got so many more people that have this particular skin tone we didn't really want to
Absolutely.
aware about. We can create some cosmetics specifically for that. So
Yeah.
it helps the brand in that case. And then also the fact that they have that out there, it's really giving people the ability to get something tailored for them. And then, like you said, taking it the step forward with the brand in Korea, where they have the
Yeah.
bot that's actually
Ah,
mixing
wow.
a custom,
I can't wait to
you
try
know,
that. Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty amazing. So it's really a lot going on in the space, and those are some great examples, and really appreciate you sharing that. This has been an awesome conversation, Kosimbi. I've really learned a lot, and I know our listeners and guests have as well. But lastly, before we do let you go, I always like to switch gears just a little bit before we close things out, just so our audience can get to know you a little bit better. If you don't
Mm.
mind sharing one closing fun fact about yourself, you think we'd be interested to know.
I love, cooking, and I'm a home chef, and
Okay.
the fun factor, and I mean, a lot of us are, but a fun factor on that is that about 7 odd years back, I actually had my own food blog too, and
Okay. Okay.
I grew it to a certain extent. It was just too
Wow.
much work balancing both, so at some point I didn't really take it,
Okay.
continue that too
Mm,
judiciously, but I used to get
right.
5,000 hits a month. That was a big deal for me. And I got
Okay.
featured in Food Gawker and foodporn.com, and I was so excited. So, yeah,
Oh
that's
wow.
something that most people don't know about me, is
Okay.
that I actually had my own food blog, and I love cooking and, sharing great food with people that I care about.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that's some good stuff. For
Yeah.
just a personal blog you're doing just because of the passion that you have in cooking. For it to reach just 5,000 visitors a month. That's a big deal. Just
It
for
was a
something
big
that
deal.
is
Yeah.
a hobby for you for sure, and to be featured in those online publications and blogs
Yeah.
is good stuff. So I guess if you ever um, decide to step away from technology, you definitely
I
have an
do.
afterlife in the food space that you
For
can
sure. For sure.
pull into. So that's good to know, and thank you for sharing that. Lastly, before we do let you go, if you don't mind sharing the best way for our listeners and viewers to reach out to you if they want to reach you and pick your brain anymore about
Oh, for sure.
AI technologies in the e-commerce space.
Yeah. Oh, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm fairly active there. I've tried
Okay.
all other social media platforms, and it looks like LinkedIn's the best for me. So you can
Okay.
find me, my full name, Kausambi Manjita, or K Manjita, and you should fairly hit me because it's not going to be a lot of names, this unique combination out there. So that's number one. And two, on Instagram, it's just my first name, and
Okay.
I love to share my recipes once in a while over there. So
Okay.
please, these are our two best channels to hit me up. And in case you want to talk, want to know a little bit more about what we do as a company and what my team does, then our website, which is getmason.io, getmason.io. And you
Okay.
can just chat with anybody, and someone from my team will definitely reach back to you and help you out.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. We'll definitely have the links to your site and your social handles in the show notes and in our YouTube video description as well. So definitely encourage people to reach out to you and see how you guys can help them out. Well, this has been an awesome conversation, Kausambi. I really appreciate having you on the e-commerce marketing podcast.
I'm so excited, and I hope to catch you back again in some months. Thank you, Alan, for
Okay,
hosting me. Yeah.
definitely. You take care.
Thank you for listening to the e-commerce marketing podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share it with everyone you know. Are you looking to take your digital marketing to the next level but are tired of weeding through countless YouTube videos with unproven and untrusted marketing strategies? Well, we have the answer for you. The More Sales Every Month online digital marketing course. In this information-packed course, you will learn effective keyword research, link building, content marketing, and much more to attract and convert your site visitors into paying customers. Just go to moresaleseverymonth.com and sign up today for a low one-time fee. In addition to this power-packed course, if you would like to get access to a growing repository of digital marketing articles, PDFs, and ebooks, check out getosi.com/resources and opt in to get full access to our library of priceless marketing information to help you take your digital marketing to the next level.